Welcome to episode 66 of the Practice Squad, a show where we talk about football, shoot the breeze, and make even the replacement refs cringe. I'm your host and fourth string quarterback, Jeremy, joined each and every week by my co host and backup long snapper, Joseph. How's it going, man? Oh, looks like I might have lost you there.
Oh,
Joseph, you there?
yep. Hello.
Okay. All right. How are you doing? I think I lost you again. we're having we're having audio problems. You,
Okay. Hello.
yeah, okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. So here's the problem.
All
So I
right.
had my mic muted, and Skype is being really dumb to where I press the button to unmute it, but there's a delay on the visual of showing that it's unmuted. So I think that it's still muted. So I press it again and mute myself.
Okay, so it's all Skype's fault.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
So
All right. So
there wasn't
I
any.
think we're good now. I can hear you loud and clear. So I think we're ready to roll. So how are you
Okay.
doing, man? It's been
I
two
was gonna
weeks.
say I don't think that this late in the season we've had such craziness for playoff standings. This is nuts. This is crazy. I mean, the NFC is pretty crazy, but the AFC is bonkers.
I agree. It is nuts. So we are live right here on YouTube every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific. We are running a little bit late tonight. That's just kind of the way we roll. That's the practice squad way. If you like what you hear and want to support us, don't hesitate to like, share, and if you're feeling extra generous, subscribe. But of course, you can like, share, and subscribe even if you think you could run this show better than us, or at least if you think you can press the mute button better than Joseph. So this week we've got our typical gambit of segments, including Game of the Week, a nice, exciting overtime game. Who Wrecked Face this week? We've got Darndest Things. We've got a special segment. You're just going to have to stick around to find out what that is. Tricky picks. We're just going to go over the record. No new picks this week, just in case, just setting expectations on that one. And lastly, our predictions for the upcoming week of football. So let's dive into segment number one, Game of the Week. It is Bills at Bucks. Obviously, we did not have a show last week, so we didn't get to announce what our Game of the Week would have been. This was a game that Joseph and I decided after all the games were over this weekend, looked over, and I think based on the teams we've watched and the level of interest and excitement that this game made it to the top of the list. So Bucks at home, they pull off a 33-27 overtime victory against the, shall we say, struggling Buffalo Bills.
Thinking.
Sinking, yeah, that's a good word. That's a good one. I think the Bills are. This is a little bit of an aside, but the Bills started off the season. Let's see. After their Jets game, they were 6-3, and then they've lost three of their last four. So they're struggling right now, and they still have a couple of tough games left on their schedule. So they went from what I think everybody expected was the clear AFC East favorites to possibly even first seed favorites to now they're fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And they still have another Patriots game, so they're in the madness of the AFC playoff hunt, which we're going to talk about next week because there's still just so much shuffle going on. But let's focus on the game that they had this week, which was against Tom Brady and the Bucks. And as you probably read in the headlines all over ESPN and other places after this game, that Tom Brady still owns the Bills. um, so let's go ahead and dive right into our play-by-play of the game. So as you've noticed, kind of our format for our Game of the Week talk is we go through most of the drives. Not necessarily scoring drives, but definitely any drive that ends in a turnover or a score we talk about, and then anything else that had an interesting play that was worth talking about we throw in there as well. And then at the end, we try to make some general comments about the game, general things we noticed about the teams or specific players. So this is an ever-evolving segment. We try to fine-tune it each week to make it a little bit better. But if you do have any suggestions for us, please feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments, and we will try to continue to improve this segment. So, quarter one, right off the bat, the very first snap of the game, Bucs get the ball, and it just flies by Tom Brady. Tom Brady runs back, chases it down, got lucky he landed on that, because there were a couple of Bills right next to him that if he had been even half a second late, he probably would not have recovered that fumble, and the outcome of the game could have been quite different. So they get a huge loss on that. And then they punt, then the Bills punt on their first possession. Then after that kind of mediocre start to the game, the Bucs have the ball, and Leonard Fournette rips off a huge 47-yard touchdown run, mostly untouched. I think there was one sort of broken tackle along the line, and then he just pretty much ran the rest of the way untouched. And the Bucs take the lead 7-0. Then the next drive by the Bills, Josh Allen did get a couple of good runs, but there was a miscommunication on a throw that forced a punt, and that was pretty much it for the first quarter. There wasn't really a whole lot going on. It was in the second quarter that things really fell apart for the Bills. But Joseph, did you have any comments on anything else that happened in the first quarter?
I don't think so. Let's see. Nope, not yet.
Okay, so it's only 7-0 at this point. Then we get the beautiful Brady 12-yard run at the beginning of the second quarter, which, based on how long it takes him to get the 12 yards, it feels like a lot more than that, but it was only 12 yards. And I gotta admit, for a 43, 44-year-old man, I think he's 44 now. He still runs quite gracefully. He runs better than some older quarterbacks. So credit to him.
I think he runs better than he did before. I think he's in better shape now than he was a few years ago.
It's sort of the curious case of Benjamin Button with him. I don't know what's going on, but he is finding new ways to improve his game as he gets older. So he pulls off that 12-yard run up the middle, and on that drive, it just looked like the Bills were on their heels. They couldn't really stop anything, and until they got to the red zone, and they do get a third down stop there when it counted. So that forced the Bucs to kick a field goal, and it's now 10-0 Bucs. So then on the next drive, Allen starts to connect a little bit. He starts to build a little bit of momentum. He had a couple of really nice passes to Emmanuel Sanders and Stephon Diggs. But then they get down close to the Bucs end of the field, and he overthrows. Allen throws an overthrow in the end zone, and it just didn't look very accurate. He looked like he was kind of off rhythm, and it forced a kick. So they did get their first points on the board at this point, so it's 10-3 Bucs now. Then the next Bucs drive, Gronk draws a PI. Yeah, and that was like, if I remember correctly, that was a clear. It was a clear PI. And then Brady throws a high pass to Mike Evans, who it was one of those. It takes a bad pass to make a good catch situations. Mike Evans hauls it in for a touchdown. He was pretty wide open in the end zone, but the ball was high. So he rings it in, and the Bucs are now up 17-3. Then on the Bills' next drive, trying to answer that score, Devin White jumps on Josh Allen. Literally jumps on him.
That was. How did he get away with that?
I don't know. One thing I've found so far this season is that the flags around roughing the passer have been incredibly inconsistent and oftentimes very ticky-tack. I've also found the pass interference to be incredibly inconsistent, and they're really, really bearing down on taunting this year. I don't know if you noticed that, but they're calling even the smallest things taunting now, which I actually think is good. I think that behavior should just be out of the NFL. These guys need to act more like professionals. And I don't like that commentators are defending players by like, oh, it's so hard in the emotions of the game to hold on. And like, no, just be mature and professional, and don't, do whatever you do to try to get a rise out of the other player. So Devin White gets away with jumping on Josh Allen, and when I say that, I literally mean he jumped on Josh Allen for a sack and Bills punt. And then on the ensuing drive by the Bucs, Mike Evans makes another phenomenal catch, this time on the sideline, a little sideline basket catch to bring the Bucs to the 1 yard line.
Floater?
What was that?
The floater? Was that the floater? The throw? It was a floater?
I think so. And then he
that
keeps
was
both feet in
amazing.
bounds and
that was amazing.
Yeah, falls out of bounds with the ball in the basket. And then with the ball on the 1 yard line, Tom Brady QB sneak. I think this was, I'm going to double check what I just said. Actually, I said it was a QB sneak. I think it was. I just want to see if Brady was credited. Was he credited with the touchdown?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, okay. So that was his QB sneak touchdown. And now it's 24-3 Bucs, and you're thinking, well, why did you guys pick this game? What is going on here? Why was this such a good game? Well, just wait and see. So, and at this point, I was thinking, how in the world? Because I saw the final score, but I didn't watch the game at all. And at this point, watching the highlights, I was thinking, how did this game go to overtime? Like this has the feeling of one of those like 45-10 kind of games, and I was fascinated at this point to see how the Bills were going to turn it around. So with 1:29 left in the half, Bills are desperate to score points at this point. They have to come away with something if they want to stay alive in this game. And Josh Allen, under pressure, throws up the ball, inadvisable throw, and it gets picked by Richard Sherman, who just came back from IR. I think he's played like 2 games for the Bucs, and he got a pick there. Now the Bills do keep their hopes alive by getting a quick 3 and out, and they get the ball back with 40 seconds left and no timeouts. Allen does get off at least one good run on that drive, but ultimately the Bills just can't capitalize, and they end the first half with only 3 points. So at halftime, 24-3, time to go in the locker room, make your adjustments, come out and try to make something happen. So Joseph, let's take our halftime break here. Do you have any comments on quarter 2?
Yeah. So, Brady looked good in the first half.
He did.
He looked really good. And how about that hilarious, amazing slide by Allen out of bounds when he was pushed out of bounds on that run? Did you see that? He has an epic run, and he's going out of bounds, or he's trying to avoid getting out of bounds, and the tackle to have him stop is he's pushed, and he goes to the ground. He's falling, and he like intentionally does like a forward flip, like landed on his butt. And he landed on like, I don't know if it was wet there or not, but he landed on like this like tarp thing, and he just slides. Like it was epic and hilarious at the same time. I watched it probably 3-4 times.
I don't remember that, but that sounds hilarious.
It is so worthy to watch.
I'll rewatch that part after the show. It's on the highlight version.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll watch that again on the. I just don't remember it, but I'm sure it was great. So I'll rewatch that after the show. Okay. So third quarter, Bills start the half with the football, and the highlights did show the broadcast showing a stat before the very first play of the half that so far in the game, Josh Allen had 44 rushing yards and the rest of the team had 0. And at this point, you can sense desperation. The Bills are trying to pull anything out of the hat that they can. They go for it on 4th and 2. They get a fake punt, but the Bucs read it quite nicely, and the ball's turned over on downs. So then this next play, I've never seen this in my life.
Which, by the way, that fake punt play call was terrible. That kind of call for a fake punt like that was terrible.
Oh, the side sweep.
Yeah, and like that was just, what are you doing? Like that was a bad
Yeah,
call.
most
So
of the successful fake punts I've seen are when someone at the line just gets a couple yards separation, and then the punter just throws a dunk pass.
or if it's a direct snap and he just runs for the first down. The fact that there was like the fake handoff, or there was the handoff, because I think the guy in the middle got it and he handed off to the guy on the right who then ran left. Like, that was just, what are you doing?
You're burning too much time, and you're giving the defense valuable seconds uh, uh, to triage the play, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so this next play, I think you know what I'm about to say. So the Bucks go for it on 4th and 2, and the ball's batted up like out of the screen. You can't see the ball. It's basically straight up, and Brady tries to catch it. So Brady threw it. It got tipped straight up. He tries to catch it, but there's a defender next to him, so it's tipped off of him.
No, he tries to tip it. No, he tried to knock it down. He tries to knock it down.
Okay, so he tries to knock it down, and then the ball sort of sails off to the side, and the defender dives for it and barely doesn't get it. So he doesn't come down with it. Ultimately, the defender was visibly upset, but ultimately, even if he had caught it, I think they would have only gained like 6 or 7 yards.
That's a fair point. That's a good point.
Right, because it would have been a turnover on downs anyway. So it wasn't a big deal that he didn't catch it. And Brady would have touched him when he was down anyway, because Brady was right there. So I don't. Again, it was one of those like brain fart moments for players. But regardless, turnover on downs. And then finally, the Bills get something going on the ground with their run game. Interestingly enough, I closed the game, but let me pull it up again. The box score, so I can reference this. So at the start of the second half, Josh Allen had 44 rushing yards. The Bills actually ended the game with 173 rushing yards. So a lot of that came from this point forward. And on this drive is really when the Bills got something going on the ground. They got their first third down conversion of the game on a nice juke by Cole Beasley. And then Allen fakes a keeper and runs into the end zone for a touchdown. So or I guess I should say fakes a handoff. He keeps it, but fakes a handoff. Runs into the end zone pretty much untouched for a touchdown. So it's now 24-10. And the way that they drove down the field, then you start to get the feeling, okay, like this is the Bills we know. They're high-flying offense. They can score quickly. They're still in this. Then the Bucks get the ball. The Bills force a 3 and out on the Bucks' next possession. They get the ball back on their own 27, and then they can't do anything either and also have to punt. So we're now going to start the fourth quarter, but I'll pause to see if Joseph has anything to add.
Not really. Just wanted to say back to the Brady tip where he tries to knock the ball down, but it's weird. It was a bad attempt. He like knocked it into the defender's hands next to him. But I did appreciate the box outs, right? Like basketball, Brady was trying to box out the defender to get to the ball. Because once it was tipped like that, I think they're allowed to like push each other. Like it's just kind of free for all. And so yeah, Brady with the good box outs, but then he goes to like knock the ball down, but he like swats it almost into the defender's hands and hits him. And then he got tipped up and the guy almost caught it. So yeah, that was a very weird play. Have we already gotten to the point where Brady almost gets another interception near the goal line? Or is that?
No, that's actually going to be the very next line
that
I have here. So yeah, at this early in the fourth quarter. So the Bills have punted at this point. The Bucks get the ball back. Start of the fourth quarter. Bucks drive down the field. They get another good run by Fournette to the Bills 14. Then on the next play, the Bills drop a easy interception. Like, that was the one that Brady threw and then it hit the defender and then the defender fell to the ground with the ball and just couldn't come up with it.
Yeah.
That's the one you're thinking about?
Yep.
Yeah. So he drops it, doesn't get the pick. But fortunately for the Bills, they do get a stop on third down and force the Bucs to kick a field goal. So it's now 27-10 Bucs. Now, Bills come alive again. They quickly rip off a couple of good runs and get within striking distance. Allen throws a pass straight ahead to a wide open Dawson Knox for a touchdown, and they bring it within, make it a two-score game, 27-17. And then this is where I feel like this is kind of the point where the Bills really started to have momentum, was in the fourth quarter. They get force the field goal, then they get the quick touchdown, then they force a 3-and-out, start with good field position. Stephon Diggs makes a great sideline catch at the 11. And then the Bills draw roughing the passer penalty that moves them to the 4. And then Allen throws a touchdown pass to Gabriel Davis with 4:17 left in regulation. Bucs are now only up by 3. And then Bucs get the ball back. Bills sack Brady on third down with 3:15 left and force a punt. So the Bills have been totally dominant up to this point in the fourth quarter. And then this time, instead of a fake punt, the Bills just straight up go for it on 4th and 4. And Gabriel Davis fights for the first down and gets it. It looks like on the initial catch, he might have had forward progress, but then he kind of looped around to try to juke the defender, and then the defender got a chokehold on him, but he drove just enough for the first down. Do you remember that play?
I can't.
The fourth down conversion.
I can't at the moment. No.
Okay, so he gets it. The defender gets him in a chokehold, but he just sort of fights his way for the first down. And then this was the play where Allen gets flushed out of the pocket and runs, almost gets the touchdown, but he's ruled out at the 1.
I vaguely remember that one.
And it looked. I replayed it on YouTube a couple of times. It looked accurate. I don't think he got in. And then with 28 seconds left in the game, Allen throws a pass to Diggs, which was not a great pass, but I thought it should have been a PI on the defender against Diggs. It looks like the defender was kind of draped all over him, and the 3rd and 2 pass falls incomplete, and it forces the Bills to kick a field goal to tie it 27-27. Honestly, I think if they had thrown that PI, the Bills probably would have won the game. Thrown the flag for the PI, the Bills probably would have won the game, but they didn't. So, like I made the comment earlier in the show, excuse me, I think that the refs have been incredibly inconsistent with PI, especially watching the Niners. Pretty much every game I've watched, but especially with the Niners, just all kinds of PIs that are not being called, but then like really ticky-tack ones that are being called. And I wish, there's a part of me that wishes we'd go back to having those be challengeable, because I think it's just refs still don't have a good handle on those rules. So I think there was like 22 seconds left at this point, and so the Bucs choose not to force the issue. They're at home. So they kneel down and go into overtime. And this one ends pretty quickly. The Bills win the coin toss. They get the ball to start, but then they punt. And then early in the Bucs drive, Fournette goes for it on 3rd and 1, and it's initially ruled short, but then they're given the first. And on the replay, it looked correct. It looked like he did pass the line to gain. And then, so this one was a little bit weird. Do you remember the play where Mike Evans draws a PI in overtime? He hooks his arm around the defender and throws him down and gets a PI.
I don't remember seeing that, but I vaguely remember Mike Evans PI.
Okay, it was cheap. It was really cheap. I don't understand how that wasn't OPI, actually, given what he did. But he gets the PI, and then Brashad Perryman gets open and scores a 58-yard touchdown catch.
Yeah.
And that's it. $33.27. So, apparently the Bucks have scored 30 or more points in every home game this season so far.
30 or more points in every home game. Wow.
So, whoever's going to end up being the wild card that plays them, watch out. You're going to have to score more than 30 points to beat them, most likely.
So can I add one more point?
Yeah, go ahead.
The 3rd and 2 before they went to overtime, I don't understand why they didn't run the ball or like have a different pass play. But especially run the ball. I don't understand why they didn't run the ball, because if they don't get it, they have time to spike it and kick a field goal. And if they do get it but don't score, they still have time to spike and have 1 or 2 plays to go for the touchdown. Like, there was time there. They didn't have to throw the ball. They could have just tried to run it in. And yeah, I don't understand that play call.
Joseph, let me tell you something. I should be talking in my oh my god, who's the Raiders guy? What's his name? The Raiders. Chris Berman. I should be talking in my Chris Berman voice, but Joseph, don't you understand this is a passing league and the best play in these situations is the fade in the end zone? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do at the end of the game.
Okay. I won't argue. I know that's bad.
So yeah, I don't know what they were doing there either, but I think they should have gotten the PI call. But yeah, I agree it was probably a bad play call. So overall comments. First of all, Brady averaged almost 12 yards per completion in this game, which is pretty good. And I don't know what his season average is. I can check that actually. I was actually kind of curious. I didn't get the chance to check it, but I was curious after that game how that compared to his yards per completion on the season. So he has over 4,100 yards already on 378 completions. So he's averaging 11 yards per completion. So this was a whole yard more. It just felt like there were a lot of chunk pass plays in this game. Fournette ripped off a couple of big runs, but they're just, man, that wide receiver talent. They're when they get going, they are not stoppable. They just have too much talent on offense. I don't think there's a single defense in the league that is equipped with the talent to stop their offense when it gets going. The only way that a team is going to be able to beat them is to make Tom Brady uncomfortable in the pocket. That's the only recipe to beating them. And I think there's only a handful of D lines that can do that.
Yeah. Be interesting to see like a Rams Bucks NFC game.
Aaron Donald, Von Miller,
Chandler Jones. Or no, I'm sorry.
Chandler Jones, Arizona.
Sorry, never mind. Yeah, sorry, I got confused because there was the Monday Night Pick'em. They combined Aaron Donald and Chandler Jones for sacks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean Von Miller, Aaron Donald's. Who else is a good defensive line in the NFC that could give Brady fits?
I mean, I of the teams that are gonna be in the playoffs, I don't think there is one. I think the better defensive lines are actually some of the teams that are maybe not gonna make it. Washington has a pretty good defensive line. So, and there's actually a decent chance that Washington may end up being the 7th seed. So if the Cards line up right, not the Arizona, you know what I mean? And the Bucks are the 2nd seed, that could be a matchup. So that might be the best shot at taking them down. Unfortunately, the Niners, Nick Bosa's having a comeback player of the year season, but I don't know if we have enough on the rest of the line to go after him. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think the Bucs, like I said, if they get going, they're probably the hardest team in the league to stop. On the flip side, though, the Bills. The one comment I was going to make about the Bills is that while Josh Allen's running really did come alive in the second half, he ended with over 100 rushing yards. Without his legs, the Bills' system of moving the ball just doesn't work very well. Like, they really kind of rely on him to get those occasional breakout runs to be effective. They don't really have a run game outside of him. And I think I think teams have kind of picked up on that. They've been able to stop the run, and when they do that, even though they've got talent at the receiver position, Josh Allen is not a pure pocket passer, right? He's not gonna kill you in the air only. He has to be able to run. So, I think that's one of the reasons that they're struggling a bit right now. They've run into some teams with some better rushing defenses. Like the Bucs actually do have a really good rushing defense. So, and they pretty much stopped it up for the first half. So, I don't know. I don't really know exactly what's going on with the Bills, but I think they'll bounce back a little bit, but I don't believe in them as the best NFC team anymore. I mean, I think there's other teams that are going to be. I think the Chiefs have surpassed them. I think the Chiefs have started playing a lot better. I think the Patriots are probably better when they're hot. So we'll see, but I think there's cause for Bills fans to be nervous.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, so that closes out our first segment. Did you have more comments?
No.
Okay, so let's move into our second segment of the night, which is Who Wrecked Face this week. Joseph is going to start with quarterbacks and running backs and one wide receiver, and then I will close out with a couple receivers and defensive, and then Joseph also has a pretty amazing got wrecked duo this week that, well, you'll see what it is. It's probably not a surprise, but it's still fun to talk about.
Yeah, it's still atrocious. All right, so we start off with the quarterbacks. Tom Brady, right, 31-46, 363 passing yards, two touchdowns, no picks. Also had a rushing touchdown, and yeah, he just looked good in this game. And then Aaron Rodgers, 29-37 for 341 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. His passer rating was a 141.
He still owns the Bears, man.
Yeah.
Did you see that clip from a couple weeks ago when he beat the Bears the first time? Yeah. I still own you.
I think someone snuck on Wikipedia and put him down as the owner of the Bears.
Nice.
Okay. Wide receiver. Hurts to say it, but he earned it. Tyler Lockett, 5 receptions, 142 yards, a touchdown.
Just for reference, that's a 28.4 average yards per reception.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then some running backs. So we have Rashad Penny. He had 137 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on an 8.6 average. And then Dalvin Cook, he had over 220 total yards. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. Of those 220-ish yards, 205 of them were rushing yards. Amazing. But in conjunction with that, on a 7.6 average. His longest rush was only 30 yards. You might think, oh, there's a 70-yard, breakout run in there. No, 30-yard rushes the max. Over 200 rushing yards, still had a 7.6 average. That's amazing. And then what's also amazing, but from the other perspective, is what Jacksonville did. Trevor Lawrence, we'll start with him. 24-40, 221 yards. He's a rookie. That doesn't sound too bad so far. 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And then, oh man, Jacksonville rushing, 8 carries for 8 yards and no touchdown. I can't even say if that was right with a straight face. 8 carries for 8 yards. There's nothing else to be said.
Yeah, just what a what a dumpster fire year for that team. I really feel bad for Lawrence because that whole situation. I think they're probably going to get a new head coach next year. I hope they do because he needs help. They need to draft better. We both thought that they had a decent draft this last year, so I don't know what's going on with their rookies, but they are not. There's no cohesion on that team at all.
Granted, their running back they drafted in the first round, he got injured early on, so he hasn't been playing. But still, that's that. Oh, hold on, I lost you. Hold on, headpiece came out. Okay.
Is your name Trevor Lawrence? Did you just throw an interception with your headpiece?
Yeah, the Jacksonville man. I don't know what their draft situation is in terms of the trades and all that for the future, but we'll see if they can pick up some pieces because, ooh, boy.
If you just look at the raw stats, like, there's just way too much on Lawrence's shoulders, man.
Yeah.
Way too much. He should not having to be passing this many times. Rookies should not be throwing 40 passes a game. It just should not be happening. There should be a rush offense there to support him and a better cast of receivers around him. So I really hope that this is not a bust because of the system and the coach and the talent around him, and that they can find some success. Yeah. Okay, so I got a few to read off myself, and I'll start with my favorite, George Kittle. He had 13 receptions on 151 yards and a touchdown against the Cincinnati Bengals this last week. He was as dominant as ever. And then Devontae Adams in the Packers ownership of the Bears, 10 receptions, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then I've got a lot of defense, actually, 6 defensive players. So we've got C.J. Mosley, linebacker for the Jets, had 17 tackles. Devondre Campbell, linebacker for Green Bay, had 16 tackles. And then Bobby Wagner had 15 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Mike Hughes, cornerback for Kansas City, had 9 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and a touchdown. Akello Witherspoon on Thursday Night Football against, he's a cornerback for Pittsburgh, was actually drafted by the Niners in the 3rd round in 2017. He had 4 tackles and 2 interceptions. And then we'll round out our defensive with none other than the ever-always MVP, Aaron Donald, 5 tackles, 3 sacks, and a pass defended. Okay, so let's go into our commentators say the darndest things segment. So a bit of a modification on this segment. I don't have any commentators saying dumb things from games, but I do have ESPN headline writers saying dumb things in their headlines. So I was on the Cardinals page, just happened to be on the Cardinals page, and I saw two that were pretty funny. The first one, I'll save the what I thought was the best one for the second. The first one was Stephen A. We all know who Stephen A. is. Stephen A. still has faith in the Cardinals. And the second one was, did the Cardinals prove they can't be trusted yet? The 10-3 Cardinals, who just lost a division game last night, have they proven they can't be trusted yet? Okay. And Joseph, you said you didn't have any quotes this week, right? Okay. So we'll roll real quick into our Tricky Picks segment. I'm just going to be reading off the record from our last Tricky Picks, which was when we did the picks 2 weeks ago. I was 2-1, Joseph's 1-2, so I am now 24-27 on the year. Joseph is 22-29. My goal is to just be 500. That's all I want to be with Joseph's crazy tricky picks. I want to be 500. That's what I want. So no new picks for tonight. Okay.
And if you noticed, I haven't been loading them so I could win, meaning I'm not getting really any real advantage here. We're both getting our butt kicked.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so segment number 5 is our special segment for the night, and this is entitled NFC Playoff Standings. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the current snapshot of the NFC standings and then discuss what we kind of expect the outcome to be in terms of seeding. And before we get started with that, I'll just make a quick comment, which is you may be wondering, why are you not also doing AFC this week? Well, if you happen to look at the AFC standings, it just looks like someone grabbed a tray of paint and threw it against the wall. There's no rhyme or reason in the AFC at all. The first seed has 9 wins. The 13th seed has 6 wins. Okay, so that gives you the range of possibilities involved. So what we decided to do was wait one more week to talk about the AFC to let things settle down a little bit. And it may even be that having the discussion next week will be hard, but I think we'll start to have a little bit of clarity with some of these teams after next week. But this week we're going to focus on the NFC because I think the playoff picture is a lot more clear at this point. So Joseph, do you want to let me go ahead? I'll read off the current standings, and then you can start first with kind of your analysis, and then we'll do our back and forth. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So the current standings are there are 3 teams at the top that have 10-3 records. First seed is currently the Packers, second seed is the Bucks, and third seed is the Cardinals. There are some particular tie breaks involved that I won't go into now, but that is the order. The 4th seed is the Cowboys. So those are your 4 division leaders right now. And then the 3 wildcard teams in order are 5th seed Rams at 9-4, the 6th seed 49ers at 7-6, and the 7th seed football team at 6-7.
All right. So the way I went about it was thinking there's craziness at the 1 seed, and then there's absolute madness for the 7th seed. So I figured let's try to just determine who we would pick most likely to get the 1 seed, and then the 7th seed, and then the rest, would kind of work out naturally and isn't as much fun to discuss. So let's go ahead and start with the 1st seed, and I'll give my analysis, and then kind of go back and forth, and then I'll go to the 7th seed, and we'll go back and forth. So for the 1 seed, right, Jeremy was right, there's interesting tiebreaks going on. The Packers have played the Cardinals, and they beat them, but the Bucks haven't played the Cardinals, and the Bucks haven't played the Packers. The Bucks and the Cardinals had to go all the way to strength of victory to get the tiebreak. That's pretty far. No head-to-head, and then I think conference games and then common games
are tied.
And they had to go straight to victory. So one way of looking at it is, okay, what is going to be a team's most likely record at the end, and then backtrack what seed that would get them. So if the Packers, so based on the schedule, the Cardinals still have some, they have okay games left at Lions, Colts, at Cowboys, Seahawks. I can see them getting 3 of those, maybe 4. That at Cowboys game would be pretty epic. So I see the Cardinals getting around 3 of those. The Packers, right? At Ravens, Browns, Vikings, at Lions. A little tougher. So if they beat the Ravens, though, on the road, then that could probably do it. Because if they win 3, right, they'll have the tiebreak. If all the teams finish with 13 wins, the Packers will have the tiebreak.
Now, question about that, actually, because I didn't get the chance to go this deep into the analysis. But if the Packers go if they all end up 13-4, the Packers, Bucks, and Cardinals, does the which loss the Packers have matter in that? Like,
No,
is
because
their standing dependent on which game they lose?
um, so it would be better if they lose the Ravens or Browns game. So it's better for them
For a
because
conference record?
yes, because the Bucks, um, yeah, because if they lose a conference game and the Bucks lose against the Jets, but then which is crazy, but then they win out the other NFC games, then they'll finish tied in conference games. Then it'll go to common games, which I don't know what that is. So if the
Okay.
Packers are going to lose a game, it's going to be in one of the next two games.
Okay.
For their sake, yeah. So far the Packers have the edge, but then you go to the Bucks, right? And you look at their schedule and you say, wait a second, the Bucks can win out. The Bucks have Saints, both Panther games, at Jets. They can win that out. So if the Bucks win out, it means the Packers have to win out in order for the Packers to get the 1 seed. But the Packers the Packers and the Cardinals can do it, but they each have a game that could be a thorn in their side. The Bucks don't have that. They don't have that thorn on their side. So where it stands right now.
Wait, you forgot the Jets.
No, I said the Jets.
No, the Jets are a thorn in their side.
Don't throw me off, man. I'm focused right now.
Just want to make sure you're including the most important part of the equation.
Oh yeah, Zach Wilson will break records. 6 interceptions. So the Bucks, where it stands right now, if the Packers lose to the Ravens and the Bucks beat the Saints, like I think that will mostly settle it. I think that'll give the Bucks the best chance. I'm sorry, it'll give the Bucks a very high probability of being the 1 seed.
I agree. I think the Saints game is probably their toughest remaining game. So if they win that, then yeah, I think they've got a pretty good shot at being number 1.
Well, if they win it and the Packers lose against the Ravens, then it definitely.
Yes.
Because if the Packers beat the Ravens and then they win out, then the Packers will still get it. They both win out. So, without knowing how next week's going to go, I would probably put the Bucks somewhere between like a 50 to 70% chance of getting the 1 seed. Okay. And then the Packers would most likely get the 2 seed because they're probably going to end up tied with the Cardinals. That's a very high chance of that, or ahead of them. They already have the tiebreak. So most likely it's going to go Bucks, Packers, Cardinals.
Okay. Yeah, I'll throw in my 2 cents real quick. So I agree. I think that the Cardinals are probably going to be 3. I looked at their schedule. I think they're likely to be 3-1 in their last 4. I looked at all the schedules and thought, likeliest outcome for the Cardinals and Packers is 3-1. Bucks could be 4-0, but when you have 3 division games left, there's always that, what if they put up a stinker in Carolina or something. There's always that thought maybe something weird could happen just because of the division. So I said 3-1 for them as well, but I think they have the best chance of winning out. So I would agree with your analysis that they're probably just statistically in the best position for the 1st seed.
Yeah, and then so for the 7th seed, we just have absolute madness because we have a 5-way tie. And looking at all their schedules, there's a good chance they're all going to finish 8-9.
Yes.
And if that happens, then you'll get the same, you'll probably get the same breakdown you get now. So it will. So I'll take that back. The losses could matter. Let's see here. All NFC. One second. All NFC. All NFC. All NFC. One AFC. One AFC. Okay. For the top three teams, Washington, Vikings, Eagles, it won't matter because they all have NFC games left. So Washington will still get it. So the tiebreak should all remain. So Washington will be the 7th seed. So then it's like, well, wow, that's crazy. So let's look at which teams are likely to win 3 games to get to 9 and then compete for the playoffs. So Washington. So first of all, Washington and the Eagles, right? They play each other. They still have both of their games, and they both all have division games left, right? So they play each other twice. That's 2 of each of their 4 games, and they both still play the Giants and the Cowboys. So they have the exact remaining schedule left.
Yeah, it's that the East is crazy.
Yeah, so Washington and Philly. Now I think Philly has a slightly better chance because Philly plays the Giants and the Cowboys at home, whereas Washington plays the Cowboys and Giants on the road. So I think Philadelphia has a slight edge there. So, and then for the Vikings, they're a bit tougher. They have the Bears, both Bears games, and then Rams and at Packers. Kirk Cousins has been playing well. I think the Vikings are better than a 6-17. Again, we talked about this before. They started the season with a pretty brutal schedule and barely lost. I think effectively the Vikings are more like a 7 or 8 win team right now. They've had some pretty tough games, even a 9-win team, but they are a little inconsistent. Losing that Lions game probably was what ended it for them 2 weeks ago. That probably sealed the deal. And then losing that crazy Niners game, they beat the Packers. So the Vikings are going to have a tough time getting the 9 wins. But here's the thing: even if they do, they don't have the tiebreak against the Niners, and I don't know how. And I don't think they don't have the tiebreak against Washington. So if Washington gets it, then there you go. So then you look at the Saints. Saints have at Bucks, Dolphins, Panthers, at Falcons. They're not going to get 3. They're not going to get 3. They'll probably lose against the Bucks. I think the Dolphins could beat them, and so they'll probably get 2. Now the Falcons are weird. So that last up's the Falcons. Falcons, if they beat the Niners, now the Falcons have put up not good games this season, but they do have some potential, and they are inconsistent. They're weird, like a lot of teams. But if they do beat the Niners, then I think the Falcons have a good chance because they have Lions at Bills Saints. So if they take the Lions and Saints game, that's 9. But and they'll have the tiebreak against the Niners. So they could get a 6 or a 7 seed. So what makes it more weird is that the Niners have the tiebreak against the Vikings and the Eagles. That has to be considered. So there's going to be some shuffling around. So right now I would say that the teams that have the best chance of winning 3 games, right, to get that 7th spot are going to be the Eagles. And then if the Falcons beat the Niners, then the Falcons, and then Washington. And so if one of those teams gets 9 wins, and I guess it's mathematically possible that 2 of them get 9 wins, which would be even crazier. And that would go against Jeremy's, though I agree with him. You said that no one in the NFC will have 9 wins and miss the playoffs.
Correct.
That is possible, but I agree with you. That's only like a 5% chance of happening because I can't imagine between Washington, Eagles, and Falcons that 2 of those teams get 9 wins.
I agree.
So, yeah, the Falcons have a weird chance, but if they lose against the Niners, it goes like to 0, and they're not going to get it. So I think the Eagles have a better chance than Washington, because but Eagles have to win both Washington games. The assumption is they lose against the Cowboys because The Washington has a better division record and more conference wins. So the only way for the Eagles to do it is if they end up, tied or ahead, obviously, but if they end up tied, is if they win both of the games against Washington. If so, the Eagles will get it. So right now, I would say the Eagles have the highest chance of being the 7th seed, and then Washington is just below them, and then Falcons are just below them. But I don't think the Saints and Vikings can do it.
Yeah, similar analysis for me. I think that the yeah, I didn't consider any of the teams that had 5 wins or less. There is kind of a weird scenario with the Seahawks that we don't have to go into, where they could potentially get an 8 and 9 spot, but that's really unlikely. So I'm considering that the Seahawks and the Panthers to be out of the equation. I think the Saints just have too tough of a schedule remaining, so I gave them 2 more wins. I gave the Falcons. Really, the Falcons are weird because I feel like they could be anywhere from 7 and 10 to 9 and 8, depending on how they're probably the least predictable. And I think that this upcoming game against the Niners is going to be probably the most crucial remaining matchup for pretty much all of these combinations. Because if the Niners win, then that essentially locks them a spot. The only way the Niners wouldn't get a spot is if 2 of the teams below them get 9 wins, or one gets 9 wins and the Falcons, no, not even the Falcons, and the Saints get 8 and 9 and somehow get a tie break. Right, because that's just really unlikely scenario. So so
if you win, you seal a spot, and the Falcons are kicked out. So it's really just it's Washington and the Eagles.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think the Vikings schedule is just too hard. I had them at 2 and 2 to finish out. So one comment about the we spent a lot of time talking about the 6 and 7 seeds, but one comment about the 4 and the 5. So the Dallas has effectively sealed up their division. They're 3 games up on the next division rival. So they've effectively sealed their spot. I don't see them. I have them finishing at 11 and 6 because they still have to play
at Giants, Washington, Cardinals, at Eagles.
Yeah, so I see at least one more loss in there, and I think 5 losses takes them out of contending for the top 3. And then the Rams are stuck at the 5th seed unless some crazy scenario happens where they beat out the Cardinals. I think the only way for that to happen would be if the Cardinals lose to Seattle. And then because if the Cardinals lose to Seattle, then they would be 4 and 2. And then if the Rams beat Seattle and the Niners, their division record would also be 4 and 2. So if they were to tie, then it would go to common games, I think. And then I don't know what that is. So there is a weird scenario where the Rams could still win the division. They're not mathematically eliminated from the division by any means yet. But I think they're probably I'd probably put them at 80%, 85% chance to win the 5 seed right now, maybe 90%. So yeah, it's an interesting way that this is shaking out. So if the standings were to freeze the way that they are currently, then you'd have Washington. You'd have a repeat of last year with Washington playing at Bucks. You'd have San Francisco playing at Arizona, which is a matchup I'd actually love to see. I really want a rematch with the Cardinals. And then you'd have Rams at Cowboys. So I think 2 of those 4 matchups, the road teams look pretty good. And that's actually not super common for a wild card week. So there could be some upheaval on the NFC side. Um, so yeah, that's where things are right now. This is the I want to say this is one of the messier years we've had,
Yes.
and especially if you combine both the NFC and the AFC together, this is probably the messiest year we've had in at least 3 or 4 seasons that
Oh,
I can think of in recent memory.
this is crazy.
Okay, so next week we will continue this conversation, but with the AFC side of things, and uh, there are currently 5 7-win teams, 2 8-win teams, and 3 9-win teams. So get ready for some math next week. Okay, so let's move on to our final segment of the night, which is our predictions. Joseph and I had pretty good weeks the last 2 weeks, and I deleted the record from last week, but I do have it in the totals. So Joseph was 12-2 this week. I was 11-3. And so that brings our season totals, mine to 128, 79, and 1 for a 61.8%. And Joseph is now 129, 78, and 1 for a 62.3%. So you've now taken the lead by 1 game. All because the Jets couldn't win. That was the one game that we differed on. I picked Jets this last week.
Wait, did we do a show last week? Did we?
No, we didn't. We didn't do the show last week. But I include so those numbers include our picks from the previous week. Right, because okay. I got all the show notes ready for last week. We just didn't do the show, right? So I already had that tallied.
Okay.
So all I had to do was add in the record from this week. Okay, so let's start off with our Week 15 predictions. Let's start off with Thursday night. We've got Chiefs at Chargers. Who man? I'm going Chiefs. This is like a 50-50 game to me, based on how these teams have been playing. So I'm going Chiefs just because I think the Chiefs are kind of hot right now.
Yeah. I'm going Chiefs too, but this is a tough one. Raiders, Browns. I actually did not. This was the one game, there's a couple of games I didn't pick yet. It was so tough. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I think I didn't pick this game because I wanted to pick games according to who I wanted to win, so the Dolphins could have a chance. Because there's so much craziness.
So it turns into more of a rooting Sunday rather than a beat Jeremy Sunday then.
Yeah, because there's so much madness in the AFC. Like, a lot happened in my favor last week, except the Browns beating the Ravens. That was like the one thing that really hurt. The Broncos won, but that was too big a deal. Like, but the Browns winning just really threw a monkey wrench because all these teams play each other like over the next few weeks. It's crazy. So I'm going to go Raiders. I think the Raiders are 1 game down. So I want to pick Raiders because that'll increase the Dolphins' better chance.
Okay, I picked Browns, but fair enough. Now that I know your method, I think we'll probably end up disagreeing on a handful of these. Patriots at Colts. So I am a Patriots believer, but I'm going Colts. I think this is a little bit of a trap game, and the Colts have been playing well. So I'm actually going to go Colts on this one.
I'm going Patriots, and I actually don't know if this is because of the Dolphins thing or just because the Patriots are on fire. It's probably a mixture of both. So
okay.
Panthers, Bills, yuck. Not sure what's going on, but I think the Bills can bounce back. I mean, they came back against the Bucs on the road. The Panthers, come on. So I'm going Bills.
Same. Cardinals at Lions. I mean, this is the definition of a bounce back game, right? So Cardinals.
Same. Jets, Dolphins.
I mean, if you guys don't win this game, you and I will be having a conversation on Sunday, I'm sure. I'm going Dolphins also. Cowboys at Giants. Cowboys.
Same. Washington Eagles, going Eagles.
Same. Titans at Steelers. This one's tough. But I actually made my decision based on Steelers' overall rushing defense. Has been pretty bad.
Okay.
So I went Titans on this.
All right, same. And I don't know if Henry's coming back yet.
Is he expected to come back by the playoffs? Do you know?
I don't fully know.
Okay, they're going to need him to make a run. They're not going to need him to get in, but they're going to need him to make a run.
Yeah. You're up next.
This is America's Game of the Week. Texans at Jaguars. I'm going Texans, but I would not touch this game with even a 15-foot pole.
Yeah, I'm going Jags, but it's like this is a 50-50 game. That's 100% trash.
Yes. A 50-50 game that is 100% unwatchable.
Yeah.
Unless it's like that. What was it? The Texans Dolphins game a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, let's skip the next one because I haven't picked it yet, and I want to look at the records. So
okay, all right. If you want to look at their records, they're both 7-6.
Okay, I'll look at the schedule though. But yeah, go ahead and pick.
Falcons at Niners. I'm going Niners.
Same. Seahawks Rams. Going Rams.
Same. Packers at Ravens. I'm going Packers. Even if Jackson plays, I'm going Packers.
Yeah, same. I think Packers will take care of business. Saints Bucks. Though that could be a trap game.
Yeah, it could be, but I'm going Bucks also. And then lastly, Vikings at Bears. I'm actually going Bears on this one.
Okay, I'm going Vikings.
Okay.
Let me quickly look at the Bengals and Broncos schedule. Because it gets crazy. Like, so the Bengals, he said they're both playoff standings. So they're both 7-6, but the Bengals have the tiebreak based on conference games, and that's going to probably remain because they have a 2-game lead. But listen to the Bengals' remaining schedule, and you'll see why it's brutal for the playoffs and the Dolphins. They still have at Broncos, Ravens, Chiefs, at Browns. Well, 2 of those teams, including the Bengals, so 3, the Dolphins are competing with. And then the Broncos, Bengals, at Raiders, at Chargers, Chiefs. Oh, there's Raiders and possibly Chargers we're competing with as well. So I think that the Broncos will do worse. So I'll root for the Raiders next week. So the Broncos will do worse, which means I want the Broncos to win this time, I think. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, man, it's close. You know what? It's so close because they both play the Chiefs, Ravens, at Chargers. Oh, my goodness. I'm going Broncos.
Okay, I am too. Okay, so we differed on 4. Raiders, Browns, Patriots, Colts, Texans, Jaguars, and Vikings, Bears. And no buys this week, so a full slate of 16 games. Our game of the week is going to be Chiefs at Chargers. Unless it's a stinker and we need to check something else. Small text below. Quick question as a preview, before we round out the show, as a preview for our AFC discussion next week. Joseph, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. If the Dolphins go 8-9 by beating the Jets and the Saints but losing to the Titans and Patriots, are they going to get in?
Oh, no, it's impossible.
Okay.
Even if they get 9 wins, they need help. They need some big amount of help. Yeah, 8 wins is impossible, or implausible. 9 wins, it still only gives them probably a 10 to 30% chance. That there needs to be the perfect scenario or scenarios that occur with the other teams and how they play each other.
Okay.
And it might, yeah. So.
All right. So it's going to be, your most winnable games for the next 2 weeks, and then you got at Titans and versus Patriots your last 2 weeks. So those last 2 weeks are going to be insane then, because you not only how you do, but also how the rest of the conference shakes out.
Yeah,
So.
it's going to be crazy.
Okay, well, we'll talk a little bit more about that next week after we find out the results of the barn burner Jets at Dolphins game this Sunday. So that is a wrap for episode 66 of the Practice Squad. If you did not fall asleep during tonight's episode or any of our past episodes, please like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, as those are free ways for you to support our show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Practice Squad and at Neuralizer_. Just as a reminder, if you've missed past episodes, you can watch or listen to them right here on my YouTube channel. Tonight's show will be available immediately after we go offline. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.